the Sports Renegades podcast on SportstownChicago.com. Welcome back to the Sports Renegades here on SportstownChicago.com, broadcasting live from 6 to 8 p.m. I'm Ryan Stuprich.
And I am Ryan Risky.
What we've had on the show so far, we had Mark Rohde open up the show with us as he talked about the Super Bowl and also about the Bears' offseason moves so far. And then we've been talking about the Bears ever since. But now let's sort of move on to the Chicago Bulls as they're in a little bit of turmoil right now. I hope it's just a bad slump, but
well, it seems like it's been going on the whole year. Like, these things happen.
Yeah, it's definitely been up and down the whole year, but there's been spurts where they look like that they can beat anyone in the East. And then,
in the East.
Yeah, right.
In the East.
Right. Well, I mean, you still have a good team with Washington and Toronto, and Atlanta's been, the big surprise this year, obviously. But, it's going to be interesting to see what happens from now on because, I mean, going down the stretch here, the Bulls have to make sure they're not, lower than a fourth seed because they're going to be in a little bit of trouble because then they won't have home court.
Yeah, I mean...
Although it doesn't really matter because they play so bad at home and on the road right now.
Yeah, they play bad all the time now. I mean, I don't know what's going on. I mean, obviously, you can't just go and say that Mike Dunleavy being out is the problem because
right.
Mike Dunleavy, a 39-year-old Mike Dunleavy, is not the reason your team is playing so awful.
The reason why you're not losing is because Mike Dunleavy is hitting open threes. I mean, sure, it helps. It gives you more points, but, I mean, Mike Dunleavy being out for so long, like, you would think that would have nothing to do with the Bulls, and the Bulls would still be able to fight through it when you have Mirotic and McDermott there, too.
Mirotic has been playing really bad recently. Like,
he has awful fouls. I can't stand him and his fouls that he has. He's the worst fouler in the league, I think. He's awful at that.
Yeah, he's been missing a lot of shots, and Aaron Brooks' defense, I swear, I don't think he plays defense. Like, why is he on the court?
Well, same with Rose, for that matter. Rose doesn't play defense either. He just hoists up these mid-range jumpers instead of driving to the hoop. It's like he's afraid he's going to get injured again. But the only way that you're going to win these games is if Rose drives to the hoop and stops shooting these threes. Like, every time he shoots a three, I'm screaming, no, because I know it's going to miss, and then it misses. Sometimes they're way short, too. Yeah. Like, I don't understand what you're doing.
Yeah, Rose has been missing a lot of shots. I mean,
he's like going 9 for 23 consistently every night. Like, it's way too much.
That's not winning you games. And another thing, I mean, this has been a lingering issue the entire season, is the health of Joakim Noah, because he's obviously still not healthy. I mean, granted, it was nice seeing him grab the 19 rebounds against Houston the other day, except when
he was 0 for 8 from the field. Yeah, I know, because he was on my fantasy team. I was like, no!
Yeah, except when he scores 1 point, that's not getting it done. I mean, the 19 rebounds was great because he hasn't had a game like that really since the Golden State with the 18 points and 16 rebounds.
Right.
And the thing with Noah, they were so good, or the reason they were good and not playing good defense and somewhat decent, no, they were bad on offense last year because a center's running the offense, except he was healthy and playing at an MVP level.
Well, and even if he wasn't, extremely healthy, he was, fighting through everything, and he's been fighting through that. He's been fighting through a couple injuries for like 3 seasons.
I think you need to rest Noah, shut him down for a week or two, because him not being healthy is not helping this team out. And
I mean, I understand that too. I think it might be a good idea, especially if time off will help him. So I'm all for that, to shut him down for like a week or two, because I mean, you do have Taj Gibson, who we'll talk about in a minute with those trade rumors. But I mean, Taj Gibson, I mean, he's definitely worthy of a start. So I think it might be a good idea to shut down Joakim Noah.
Right, the thing with Noah is just that he's not himself by when he's playing through a really, really bad injuries, and that's why his stats are down. I mean, they really, really need him to be healthy.
No one ever talks about him either. It was like, oh yeah, Joakim's fine, he's going to be playing, all the time. But I think it would be a helpful thing for him to be shut down for a little bit.
I mean, he's not helping the team by playing through this injury, and I don't think he realizes that. I think it's just more he wants to be on the court to be there for his teammates, except when it comes playoff time, if he's not healthy, and he would have been healthy if he sat out a week or two,
right?
That doesn't really help out at all. And, I mean, Powell's been playing at an extraordinary level, except the for whatever reason, the rest of this team around, I mean, this team is like not playing like a team.
Well, and Powell doesn't really play defense too well either, which we knew that going in.
I mean, he's better than Boozer.
Not, yes, I agree with that. He's a lot better than Boozer, but, you knew coming into it he was going to give you a lot of offense and more improved of a defense, but, he wasn't going to be this great defender guy. I mean, he's got the size, and he gets a good amount of blocks and everything, but as far as, like, just going and pulling down the rebounds, I mean, Joakim and Taj are your guys for that, and they haven't done it. These last 2 weeks have been just brutal. I think in the month of January they're 8-10. I think is what it is now.
They went 8-10 in January.
I think they're 8-10 in January. Or well, actually, I think it was 8-9 in January because now it's February, and Houston was their second game in February. So they're 0-2 and then 8-9 in the month of January.
No, they did not play that bad.
Well, let's look at the schedule up here.
Unbelievable.
They beat Denver. That Boston Saturday night game, they won that. They lost the other Boston home game. They beat Houston. They lost to Utah at the United Center, correct? I believe. Oh,
I wouldn't be shocked if they did.
I think
how many times did they play Houston this year? I swear this is the third time they've played them.
No, this is only the second time. They played them. That would be January 5th at the United Center, and they won that. And then they lost to them just last night at Houston.
Are you sure? I swear they played.
I mean, I'm looking at the schedule.
Yeah, I know you are.
Twice,
I'm saying,
so.
do you see them more? Because I swear they beat them twice and they lost this time.
I don't know
because they remember they went on that they swept the Texas teams. They beat the Spurs, the Rockets. And who's that other? Oh, and Dallas. They beat them in like 3 consecutive games.
Yeah, here I'm trying to see the schedule, see if I was right, because I could have sworn last night as the game was starting, I saw that they were 8-9 in the month of January.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't
Denver,
be shocked.
Boston.
I'm just wondering if this is the third time they played Houston, because I swear you only played the other conference twice, except that I think they played them twice before last night. I'm not sure. I might be wrong. So,
I counted 9 wins, unless they lost both to Washington this month. Because there was
I think they did.
Okay, then it was 8 wins. Because they lost to Dallas, right?
No, they beat Dallas.
Did they beat Dallas? Okay, then I counted 9 wins. That's it.
No. Did they play the Spurs this month?
Yes, they beat them too. Their wins were Denver, Boston, Houston, Milwaukee.
The Spurs.
The Spurs, the Celtics again in Boston, and Dallas and Golden State. Yeah.
And then they lost to the Lakers in double overtime.
They lost to the Lakers, the Suns, Miami. That was that Sunday afternoon game. Washington twice, Utah, and Orlando.
Just hearing the names of those teams.
And the Cavaliers, too. Yeah. So there you go.
Just listening to the names of a lot of those teams that they lost to just makes you shake your head.
I know, right? It's very disappointing, obviously.
I mean, this isn't like the Hawks where they'll be fine when the playoffs start. This is serious.
Right, and the Hawks, are still, a top 3 seed in the West, I think, right now, aren't they?
If they're not, the point differential isn't very large.
Well, and I mean, I'm not so worried about the Blackhawks, whereas the Bulls, I'm kind of worried about them, where they haven't had sustained success in the playoffs like the Hawks have. So, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there at the United Center for the Bulls, as All-Star break is next weekend. So, it's going to be interesting.
Oh yeah, I heard Jimmy Butler plans to play defense in the All-Star game.
Good for him.
No, not really good for him. We don't need him getting tired out by the end of the season by playing hardcore defense in an all-star game. I mean, yeah.
Well, Tom Thibodeau probably told him to.
If Thibodeau was the head coach, he'd probably be demanding defense.
I know, seriously. So next game is the Bulls will play. They're playing at New Orleans, then they're at Orlando, then they're at home against Sacramento and Cleveland. That's before the All-Star break, so...
I have a feeling that sounds like a lot of losses.
I hope not, but New Orleans is a very good team. Anthony Davis is one of the best players in the league right now.
Just the way that I watched them play yesterday, I don't really have any high hopes they'll win any of those games.
Well, they'll definitely lose to the Cavaliers, and they'll probably lose to New Orleans. You would think they would beat Orlando and Sacramento, but you never know with this team.
They never beat Sacramento.
I know.
For whatever
I remember.
Reason.
There was like a game back like in 2008 or 9 where the Bulls blew like a 40-point lead at the United Center against the Kings, right? And then they...
Oh, yeah, and it was like the largest lead blown in like 20 years.
Yeah, something like that. So we'll talk more about all our sports stuff. We'll also talk about the Cubs and White Sox coming up in other segments as well, as baseball season's right around the corner.
James Shields to the Cubs, maybe?
It's possible, but I don't know about it. All right, stick around to Sports Renegades, SportsTownChicago.com. The Sports Renegades podcast on SportsTownChicago.com.